which covenant is being talked about and which covenant is in force. God has chosen to tell us how he is going to interact with us by establishing legal contracts or covenants. If we get this wrong, if we're interpreting this wrong, then it'll be very difficult to get the interpretation of whether scripture. It'll be difficult to get it maybe impossible even. And the thing that will be freeing to us as we understand this, it will give us places and areas where things actually don't apply or don't apply in the way that they're stated here. So the old covenant no longer applies. It has been made obsolete by the new covenant. Understanding that as we study this will help us. It'll make some of these come alive. It'll also allow us to, there'll be some verses in the Bible, particularly in the Gospels, that contradict other parts of the Bible, other parts of the New Testament, that we'll look at. There'll be an obvious conflict. Well, understanding the context of the covenant will help us kind of steer through that. So that's the three contexts. Go back to the first one, the whole Bible context. How can this keep this in mind? It takes, I put here, it turns interesting stories into a revelation of God's love for us. For instance, the story of Samson. It turns into, a story about the world's greatest man and what we can learn from him and the failures in his life. And we kind of just want, a lot of times we just look at him and see how he's failed. Well, now if we understand the whole Bible, we see that it's actually the story of a man stretching out his arms and giving his life to destroy the enemies of God's people or to bring salvation to God's people. Hosea turns from a husband who's been betrayed but just stays at it and keeps buying back his adulterous wife to a husband who's pursuing an unlovable bride and giving up his wealth, his reputation, and everything to redeem his bride, which is a picture of Christ, of course. Conniving Jacob, being outsmarted by his conniving father-in-law, turns from that to a man who's working 14 years for the right to marry the one he loved, as Jesus did what he did in order to bring about the salvation of his and redemption of his bride. The other thing is, it's easy to take a look at this book and just say, well, this is the world's biggest and hardest self-improvement book. And by understanding more of that we're going to look for Jesus Christ, keep him at the center, understand the whole context of the Bible, it'll keep us from doing that. One thing that's amazing to me is that people are bored with this book. This is the most amazing book ever written. Yet we turn it into a self-improvement book, which then makes us bored and makes us wish we didn't have to read it or whatever that it might be. Plus, it seems like that should work, but it doesn't work. In other words, self-improvement through me reading a bunch of do's and don'ts does not work. The law proved that, right? The law in 1 Corinthians 15:56 is said to be the power of sin. That doesn't sound like we're getting better. It sounds like something that helps us get worse. But this book is about loving God, pursuing you, pursuing me in our most unlovable state. It's about a God who gave up everything, who bankrupted heaven, and who loved me and gave himself for me and you. But here, this book shows us the heart and the face of an all-consuming God, and it is marvelous. The greatest thing in life is to simply be in his presence, and this book ushers us into his presence. That's context one.